Hello there, my name is Relo Kai with Butcherbird Productions, and this is Blender Build. This is a series where I time-lapse and narrate my general creative process when making models and animations in Blender. Now, I am by no means an expert in Blender. In fact, I'd say I'm still a novice, but I think this might help people still learning Blender or just wanting to get into 3D modeling in general. By getting a feel for the general learning process and workflow, and maybe by showing my mistakes, you can learn from them too. I'll be posting additional videos with the more important lessons learned in a shorter format, so look forward to those. In this build, I'm making a signature piece of clothing for one of my characters, a light brown leather trench coat. Now, I'm also DMing a D&D campaign for some friends, and we play in Tabletop Simulator, and there's going to be a magic item that's basically this trench coat. So, I thought, why not kill two birds with one stone? I put this model on a coat rack and bring it into TTS, and we just use the coat model for the character model down the line. Sounds good to me. Now, before I recorded the build in this video, I had already attempted to make this coat by using the sewing feature in Blender cloth simulations. This was the result. I wasn't very happy with it, as the shoulders and arms never fit well together, and the points where the front and back of the coat met were too angular for my liking. After staying up until 3 o'clock in the morning trying to figure this out, I had an epiphany the next day. Why not make the coat from a cylinder, cut out the front, and add 2 more cylinders for arms? And so, that's how this build started. Let's get into it. Like I said, start with a cylinder. Cut out the front. And add 2 cylinders for the arms. Easy! This bevel gave me a lot of geometry problems, so I spent quite some time figuring it out. I then added solidify and subdivision surface modifiers and spent a long time readjusting the mesh to get it to look good. Here I flattened the back and front of the coat to make it align with a person's chest more. Here I adjusted the collar, and I had some trouble getting it to scale correctly. I then readjusted the vertices on the flowing part of the coat to make it more uniform. I figured out that I could set the 3D cursor to world origin and scale the collar with the 3D cursor along the global X and Y axis. At this point, I was just getting the modifiers to look right, making minor adjustments to geometry and subdividing the mesh a bit more. I'll speed this up, as this took a while. Here I added the stand, which was basically 2 cylinders unioned together and then mirrored. We'll come back to this later. Here I started the cloth sim, and it went very poorly. I tried a whole bunch of settings and nothing seemed to help significantly. I then proceeded to crash Blender several times because I turned up the subdivision levels and simulation quality steps way too high. After a while, I noticed that my sleeves had one long polygon along the whole sleeve, along with a lot of extra vertices on the end. After fixing that, I basically ran into a wall, trying to look up answers online, as I do, and I wasn't finding anything. Eventually though, I found out that not only does the geometry of your cloth matter, but the object it collides with also matters. Here, my stand had the same problem my sleeve had, one long polygon along the whole arm. And voila! The cloth sim is finally working. Here, I adjusted the cloth properties to my liking, pinned a few vertices in the chest area, and made some minor adjustments. I finally was happy with how the coat looked, so I wanted to see it with a texture. I went for a leather look, following a tutorial that I will link in the description. Thank you, Ryan King Art. Here are the nodes I ended up with. Here I tried a few more random things with the cloth settings and tried and failed to round off the stand, but that wasn't too important, so I let it go. Here I added wind to make the cloth billow out in the front and make it more dynamic. Looking good! I was really happy with this. I decided to grab a wood texture from another project and use it for the stand. I did follow a tutorial for making this at one point. Sadly, I can't tell you which one, so sorry about that. Here's my nodes as compensation. I spent way too much time on the arms of the stand here, trying to rotate it to make it look right, but I finally decided that no one's going to see it anyway, so why bother? Here I made some final adjustments to colors and exported to Unity. After I stopped recording, I exported everything into Unity and then TTS. I was happy with how it turned out. However, overnight I remembered that the coat has two pockets on either side of it for the character's hands and a tie-like accessory on the collar. Also, the model I exported into TTS didn't have a real bottom to the stand, so I needed to add that. And so, day 2 begins. Here I added the base and exported to Unity. Then I exported to TTS. And then I added pockets. I had a little trouble with geometry, but I eventually found a way to round off the pockets and get it to work right. Then I added the tie. I had to try a few different things so that the geometry of the coat didn't get messed up, but eventually I figured it out. I then learned about creases. These basically mark where the subdivision surface modifier will not curve your mesh. Really helpful. I then spent the next while messing with the wind sim, adjusting geometry, and fixing the collar. I'll speed this up. After a while, I decided it might be easier to simply position the mesh myself, but after a short stint failing to do that, I gave up and returned to the wind sim. I then continued to mess with the wind sim, adding pins, removing pins, playing the sim without the subdivision surface modifier, you name it. I spent a little more time fixing geometry until I finally got a sim that I really liked. I then added the base, exported textures, and set up the model in Unity. And finally, I imported the model to TTS. And that's it! Here's a bonus animation of the final product. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you got something out of it and look forward to some short videos on creases, plus cloth sims and geometry. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next one. See you on the other side.